On Wednesday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed an anti-immigration bill requiring the detention of unauthorized immigrants accused of violent crimes. Colombia's Interior Minister Juan Fernando Cristo announced that they will go on the offensive against the National Liberation Army (ELN), given the extreme situation in the northeast of the country. And in Lebanon, approximately 1.6 million people face severe levels of food insecurity due to the recent military aggressions by the Israeli regime. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. Now, we begin with the news. On Wednesday, the U.S. House of Representatives passed an anti-immigration bill requiring the detention of unauthorized immigrants accused of violent crimes. Republicans claim that a Laken Raleigh law named after a student killed by an immigrant is the first of its kind passed in nearly 3 decades. These results highlight the shift to the right that Congress has made rapidly with the arrival of Donald Trump to the presidency. The Raleigh law was approved with 263 votes in favor and 156 against by the House of Representatives after being passed by the Senate on Monday by a vote of 64 to 35. Civil organizations have criticized this agreement and claims that it will not improve public security. Hundreds of migrants are seeking asylum in Mexico following a sweeping immigration crackdown announced by President Donald Trump. The suspension of the CBP-1 APP, which allows immigrants to schedule legal entry into the U.S., has left many discerning and without option. In response, Mexican authorities are setting up temporary shelters in border cities to accommodate those affected by the abrupt policy changes. Trump's administration has also reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, prompting fears among vulnerable population fleeing violence and persecution. Experts warn that these measures could lead to mass deportations and legal challenges are anticipated as organizations advocate for migrant rights aims this humanitarian crisis.
CBP-1 se canceló.
CBP-1 U.S. Asylum Act was scrapped. So what we are going to do now at the COMER, Mexican Commission for Refugee Aid, is start the process to seek asylum here because many of us as migrants do not want to return to our countries of origin. So we are starting the process to stay here in Mexico.
Evelyn Salgado Pineda, governor of the southern Mexican state of Guerrero, said on Wednesday that she was working on a comprehensive program designed by state's main authorities to receive migrants deported from the U.S. She also explained that she had met with various authorities to develop a policy of support for the citizens of these states who live in other countries, assuring them that they are not alone and that when they return to their homeland, they will be welcome as they deserve and will be embraced in all aspects. She also points out that he was in contact with immigration authorities and migrant organizations in cities such as Chicago and Los Angeles to channel the arrival of their nationals. In Mexico, an puppet known as Little Amal that became a symbol of refugee children will exhibit part of their journeys through Latin America in a photographic exhibition at the Open Gallery of the Chapultepec Forest. Our correspondent Antonio Aranda gives us the detail of the following report.
The
condition of migrant or refugee is not a crime, but a human circumstance, is one of the messages of Little Amal, the 3.5-meter high puppet that represents a Syrian refugee girl.
Amal's strength is that she is very visible because she is such a tall puppet, but she is a child. So, she brings a message of peace that is like saying, I didn't do anything to find myself in this situation. I am in a situation of separation from my parents. I am in a situation of having come out of a war. I am looking for peace and I am looking to build my life and I am looking for a safe environment. That is the message of Amal.
The exhibition The Journey of Little Amal through Mexico shows her journey through 7 cities in the country, where she brought a testimony of the defense of human rights, especially those of children.
I believe that today more than ever there needs to be possibilities of response, of protection, of integration and of offering people the opportunity to rebuild their lives if they cannot stay in their countries of origin.
UN data indicate that in recent years, Mexico has been among the countries with the highest number of asylum requests for refugees, and the government's policy is to offer them dignified places to stay.
We have designed a strategy that will allow us to ensure that people coming from other countries to the city do not have to be on the streets of the city as they are today.
The pass of Little Amal through our country seeks to generate solidarity and compassion towards those who have had to leave their places of origin.
The fact that Amal was able to be here in Mexico helped to raise awareness about this migration issue. And the fact that through a figure like a 9-year-old girl, the vulnerability she represents, and how she was received in Mexico has been great.
Data from the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, indicate that there are 123 million forcibly displaced people in the world.
Antonio Aranda, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
Let's take a very first break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Colombia's Interior Minister Juan Fernando Cristo announced that they will go on the offensive against the National Liberation Army (ELN) given the extreme situation in the northeast of the country. The head of the National Security announced a measure after President Gustavo Petro confirmed on Monday that he will declare a state of internal commotion for the first time in 16 years. The violence exercised by the ELN against former social leaders and peace signatories in the Catatumbo has already caused more than 38,000 displaced persons and refugees and nearly 80 fatalities. In this scenario, ministers informed that under the protection of all constitutional and legal instruments, they will proceed with the following steps. The Venezuelan state announced the reactivation of the 13 productive engines of the country with objectives of advancing in the 7th transformation plan. One of these engines is the socialist and solidarity-based communal economy. With the details, our correspondent Daisy Toussaint.
The Commune El Panal is a historical organization of the 23 in Narrow neighborhood in the Venezuelan capital, pioneers in popular participation projects.
We would have to see how it was planned at the beginning, that each commune would have socio-productive organizations according to their knowledge in sewing, fishing, agriculture, at least in Caracas. I will give you an example from Caracas. We are serving 466 communes in Caracas. Those communes in turn have socio-productive organizations of textile confection. We are talking about more than 1,600 producers, who at the same time produce more than 467,000 products in school uniforms, jackets, and school clothes. This economy strengthens the communal economy, which develops what would be the communal bank, and at the same time, it advances towards the communal state.
The socialist textile factory Las Abejitas del Panal has been operating here for 13 years. It is an organization that follows the guidelines of the commune and provides work and knowledge to the population.
My grandmother is a seamstress and she used to teach me a little bit, but I learned here and now I myself taught her, look grandma, this is how it is. The good thing here is that we leave at 12 o'clock. We go to lunch until 2:30 p.m. I have my children studying here. I go to pick them up, I have them here for a while, I go home for a while, and then I come back here and leave at 5:30 p.m.
We started with 6 machines. I was not going to work here. I came to bring my daughter, and I liked working so much. And I liked the workshop so much that since I already knew how to sew, I stayed working until now. I have been here for 13 years.
This is a project of popular power proposed by Commander Hugo Chavez to overcome the classic model of the state.
Before the presence of Commander Chavez, the productive forces, be it bakery, sewing, breeding, fishing, were in the hands of private companies. And when they went into the hands of private companies, it was the private company that enjoyed the benefits. At this moment, we are seeing that this economic resource is in the hands of the producers, which is the people.
During the meeting with the Economic Council, the President of Venezuela announced that they will remain in permanent session to reorder, redrive, and promote the country's new economic and productive agenda.
Venezuela no es colonia del Banco Mundial.
Venezuela is not a colony of the World Bank, nor of the International Monetary Fund, nor of anyone.
Venezuela está construyendo su propio modelo.
Else Venezuela is building its own model of economic, political, and social independence of equality.
Social, de igualdad.
During 2024, manufacturing increased by 4.6%. The Venezuelan head of state summarized the transformation of the economic model, explaining that the Bolivarian economic agenda was simplified to 13 engines and the defense of national savings was launched.
Para teleSUR, Daisy Toussaint, Caracas, Venezuela. Nicaragua's National Assembly on the Wednesday unanimously approved the reform of the Constitution chapter on the economy and public finances in order to boost the country's productive and commercial activity. The parliamentary work is part of the process of partial reform of the Constitution. With this resolution, for example, the creative economy is elevated to state policy as a pillar of sustainable development in Nicaragua. The approved bill also reforms, among other things, the inalienable rights of families to access medicines, school supplies, drinking water, public transport, and other essential services. Colombian President Gustavo Petro visited Haiti on January the 22 to strengthen bilateral relations and address pressing challenges faced by both nations. During his meeting with the president of Haiti's Presidential Transition Council, Leslie Voltaire, the leaders discussed crucial areas of cooperation, including security, trade, and environmental activities, all while focusing on stabilizing Haiti's escalating criminals groups' violence.
Gracias, pueblo haitiano.
Thank you, Haitian people. I ask your forgiveness, because some white Colombians came here to kill the president of Haiti.
A matar al presidente de Haití. En nombre de todo el pueblo colombiano.
In the name of all the Colombian people, I say to you, that we do not believe in the death spread by these Colombians. We believe in life. Colombia is the heart of life in the world.
Colombia es corazón de la vida.
Welcome back. Ecuador is going through an electoral campaign for the elections in February, in which more than 13 million Ecuadorians will elect their new presidents. Citizens maintain that these are not just another election, but that the model of the country they want to build is at stake. The report with Elena Rodriguez.
16 candidates are running for the presidency of Ecuador. Experts consider that, in ideological terms, two groups are clearly defined.
Clearly, the extreme right is more predominant. If we divide, and the debate helps us a lot. The first bloc fought over who was more right-wing, who privatized more things. Then libertarian figures emerge with whom we must be very careful, because they start to use freedom, but there is no freedom without equality. Then what they want is freedom of enterprise, freedom to precarize, freedom to exploit the environment.
Some Ecuadorian candidates, with their proposals, seek to emulate the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, or the ultra-right Argentinian Javier Milei. It is in this political spectrum where the current president and candidate for re-election, Daniel Noboa, is located.
The ultra-rightists that are being formed and the right-wingers all have a primary export base, based on the idea that mining is going to get us out of somewhere, total market liberalization, privatization, more monetary funds. And on the other hand, how we control the population, iron fist militarization, creation of false positives, and a whole narrative that favors us to believe that the only way we can exist in this world is if we directly eliminate the person next to us, who does not look like me, who does not think like me.
And in this scenario where, on the other side, leftist options emerge, such as the candidates Luisa Gonzalez of the Citizen Revolution and Leonidas Azá of Pacatucuk, placed, according to several pollsters, in first and third place, respectively.
The words most used in the government plan of Luisa Gonzalez are justice and rights. If we go to another plan, for example that of Leonidas Azá, the most used word is rights. And we can see that the very notion of formulating the concerns within the government plan shows what it is aiming at.
If no two candidates reach more than 40% of the valid votes, with a difference of 10 percentage points over the second place, there will be a runoff. Therefore, the challenge for the left, according to this analyst, will be to achieve the union.
With that
programmatic unity and that roadmap, any of the people of the left and progressivism that passes to the second round should carry it forward as a possibility of response to the other issues that this country is requiring, and that requires that maturity. Precisely because if there is something that is diminished among us is trust. Ecuador is facing a multidimensional crisis, with a wave of insecurity, with around 40 violent deaths per 100,000 inhabitants. This figure has led the country to be considered the most violent in the region.
Con imágenes de Henry Pillajo, Elena Rodríguez, teleSUR Ecuador.
Moving on, in Lebanon, approximately 1.6 million people face severe levels of food insecurity due to the recent military aggression by the Israeli regime. According to a report by World Food Programme, about 201,000 people are in an emergency situation at risk of acute malnutrition. In addition, Syrian and Palestinian refugees in Lebanon are also being severely affected, with more than 680,000 at risk of food insecurity. The Israeli aggression has worsened a persistent economic crisis in a country which is still struggling to recover after the ceasefire reached in November 2024. The conflict has devastated key sectors such as agriculture, damaging land, infrastructure, and livelihoods, further aggravating the food situation. And now changing topics. In Switzerland, the Chinese-Canadian artist shown when she is showcasing her innovative project Spectral Oscillation 2 at the World Economic Forum in Davos, which explores the intersection of artificial intelligence, robotic, and human creativity. Using custom robotic units linked to her brain waves via an EEG electrode and encephalogram, hand-brands collaborate with machines trained on 2 decades of her drawing data. This installation raises critical questions about the future of traditional artistry in an increasingly technological world and emphasize how artists can actively shape artificial intelligence development.
And what we see behind us here today is my piece Spectral Oscillation 2. And what's really interesting for me about this work is that it really explores what becomes of the human hand, how we can create paintings using different types of artificially intelligent systems connected to my own biofeedback, connected to my own drawing data. And it's a way of really exploring how we can think about creativity differently. No, actually, this is really connected to what I care about, my personal data, my own biofeedback data. So in the process, I wear an EEG headband, which is like a brainwave sensing headband, that I wear while I meditate to help really bring about a state of creative flow. When I'm in a creative flow, I'm able to paint alongside these machines that's trained on 2 decades of my own drawing data. So
with that story, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials, we're on Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.